Friday, April 18th, here on the Just Baseball Show. That's Arm Layden. I am Peter Appel, and today we're looking at the 10 best rookie performers through the first couple weeks of the MLB season. We're also going to talk about a couple of guys who were sent back down to the minors and one call up to the big leagues, and then we're going to end it with a weekend preview talking about the best games that you can go check out over this weekend. And it is all brought to us by the sportsbook born in Vegas, which is BetMGM. Remember, folks, use promo code JUSTBaseball when you download BetMGM in order to get that first bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first wager loses. So what does that mean? Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app, whether it be on iOS or Android. Use promo code JUSTBaseball. Deposit at least $10 and place it on your first wager. And if that wager loses, you'll get it all back up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Remember, gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply. Aram, I was so excited to send you the 10 list of rookies because your guy, Griffin Conine, is on there when we're looking at WRC Plus, another left on left piss missile today against AJ Puck. We're not just putting your boy on here just to put him on here. He deserves to be on here, so I can't wait to get into the list.
Yeah, it's weird. It's definitely weird. Like it's the first time where you're sending in like a breakdown and it's like, oh, like let's throw in like the homie real quick. But no, like he
No.
actually is one of the best rookies so far. So that's been freaking awesome. But I would say the cool part about it, and this is a really good reminder. Of course, it's early. Guys across the league will slow down that are off to hot starts. Guys that were off to slow starts will heat up. It's a long season. It's a marathon. But I was actually just talking about this with Griff. Like the talent pool in baseball right now is, I think, never been more vast. Where you have plenty of guys in AAA right now and even AA that could be performing at the big league level, or who are maybe an adjustment away and a free mindset away from performing at the big league level. But it's just one of those situations where you got to break through, you got to get the opportunity, and then you have to seize that opportunity in that moment, which we're going to talk about, like with Matt Shaw, for example. So I really do think, though, when you look across minor league baseball and you look at college baseball, it goes all the way down. Guys are throwing 99, 100 miles an hour in college. Like, so to get through college, you have to be really good. I think the game does a really good job professionally now of just pretty much weeding guys out that have no shot at getting to the bigs at about AA. But if you're succeeding at AA, I think a lot of those guys are an adjustment away or a mindset away from being able to, stick in the big leagues. But there's a lot of other variables there. And I think we're seeing it with this list. There's several guys that I know plenty of people may not even be familiar with or have written off a little while ago. And, we'll talk about how much we're buying into it. But several of these guys, I really am buying what they're doing.
We're going to start with a guy who has torn through the minor leagues and is finally getting the call up to the big leagues. And when I say finally, it's not really finally because he's only 22 years old. But the reason I say finally is because there's been a spot open for him for about 2 years, whether he deserved it or not. But the spot has been open. That is Edgar Quero of the Chicago White Sox. Just got called up. I think we're recording this on Thursday. He either got called up today or the day before. But what we do know is that he's hitting 333 with a 144 WRC plus through 15 games in AAA. This has been a guy who has just continually been an above average hitter when we're talking about plate discipline. This guy walks, does not strike out. Great bat to ball qualities at the plate, not a ton of power, but he's been so consistent in the minor leagues and he's finally getting the call up to the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, it's been really cool to see his development as well. Remember, he came up in the Angels organization and was an exciting prospect there. They traded him for Lucas Giolito, which even at the time we were like, whoa, that's an interesting move there. And I know when people saw the Kyle Teal trade, of course, it's the Garrett Crochet trade, but Kyle Teal headlining that package, the question was kind of, okay, well, what's going to happen behind the dish here? You figure that out when you need to figure that out. If you're the White Sox, you've been looking for just pieces. And we showed it in the top 100 here before the season. I think we were one of the few that had Quero ahead of Teal. I think Teal is going to be a good player, but in terms of a catcher, I think Quero is a much more well-rounded backstop. On top of the fact that he's a switch hitter, the defense has come along so well. I know that his even worked really hard on his English, and that's something that Elijah Evans, one of our guys here at Just Baseball, but also at Future Sox, has done interviews with him over the years, and he's like, it's amazing. I was just talking to him about it, like how quickly his English has progressed, which is important when you're a catcher. But I broke down his swing adjustments at the second half of last year, where he really started to break through in the Southern League, which is a graveyard for hitters, and tap into more power. And it's really started to translate where, yeah, as you mentioned, he's not going to hit 25 homers, but if he can even tap close to average power with good bat to ball from both sides of the plate, plus plate discipline, he's going to be a really solid hitter. And I really do think he's going to be a good catcher for a long time at the big league level. Just 22 years old, as you mentioned, and he just turned 22. This is a building block piece for them. Once Teal gets up there, it'll probably be this like part-time situation where Quero's probably catching 4 days, Teal catches a couple and plays first, and they move things around. But for now, it's going to be Quero's opportunity there, and I'm excited to see what he does with it.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, we have to transition to a negative, but we're going to stay in the same city. The Chicago Cubs sent down third baseman. Well, he can play a bunch of different positions, but he's been mostly playing third for the Chicago Cubs. 535 OPS. He's hitting 172. He's striking out north of 26% of the time. 11 hits so far, only two for extra bases. This is a guy you were really high on going into the season, and when you show me video of him, how could anybody not be high on him? He raked through every level of the minor leagues. Then he gets called up and just doesn't look quite ready yet. But of course, how can you give up on a guy like this?
No, and it's one of those situations too where I think it's easy to forget that he missed most of spring training. All right, so like he had that oblique issue. He only played a handful of spring training games. Didn't really have a chance to ramp up. Then makes that trip, across the world because they wanted him on the big league team. And then has this weird spring training anyways, because any team that has that situation already is kind of weird with the spring training. But then on top of that, missing the amount of time that he missed with that oblique, and then it's like, okay, you didn't really get rolling here like most of the other guys, and then we need you to prove that you can win a job and hold on to it at third base. Like I get why they sent him down because they have some other options, and they've got Turner there as well, but this is something that the Cubs have done, right? Like they definitely are a little bit more impatient with their prospects, and they want to see results a little bit more quickly. And if not, they're going to send you down. And we saw that with Mervis, not really getting a lot of runway there. And I mean, Shaw's a guy that I definitely thought would hit the ground running pretty quickly, but also then dealing with the oblique and not really having a chance to roll into the season like a lot of other guys were able to. I get it, but the flip side is he still walked at a good clip. He was playing a good third base. Yes, he looked overmatched at times, and especially on fastballs, seemed to be eating him up. So I don't think he's going to be down there too long. It's probably to get him the at bats because they were mixing and matching. He was playing part time. Like he needs to play every day for a few weeks or a month, get into rhythm again, and maybe get those spring training reps he missed out on. And then I imagine it's not going to be long before he's back up there. He's still going to be part of this full season plan for them. And yeah, my bad on the rookie of the year pick, although it's kind of a mid off in the National League right now.
It ain't over. It
Yeah,
really ain't
it ain't
over. I
over.
mean, especially it's so early. I was looking at the rookie of the year odds. We'll go to the American League for a second. Nick Kurtz is fourth in American League Rookie of the Year odds, and he hasn't played a game yet. That's how early it is and how these things change from year in and year out. Like Luis Heel, right, last year, didn't start out in the top five Rookie of the Year odds and wasn't even in the top five through the first couple of his starts. And then he just starts to take over, and these things, they go up and down. So Shaw goes down. He'll probably be down there for a couple of weeks, like you said, maybe a month, and then he'll come back up. His timing will be right? There's some moving parts in his swing for sure. So to get on time and then come back up and then hit the ground running again, I'm not giving up on him winning the National League Rookie of the Year, especially in a rookie class where it's like it's really anybody's game
That
right
was that was a big reason why he was my pick. Is like I felt confident, unfortunately, that Dylan Cruz was going to struggle, and like he really has. But that's a guy that's going to get all the runway, right? Even if he's been struggling even more than Shaw. We talked about the Sasaki thing, why he probably won't be the runaway rookie of the year that he was priced at if you look at the favorites for rookie of the year. And it's kind of been that so far, but at the same time, it's still wide open because it's really hard to get up to the bigs and succeed. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all kind of shakes out. But the funny thing with this is really it's wide open until you get to like, even I'm thinking about last year, how many different times did we adjust who we thought was going to win the American League Rookie of the Year? It was
Every week.
Cowser, it was Wells, it was Heel, it was back to Wells, it was back to Cowser, it was somebody else for a little bit. Like it was wild.
It was every week. We'd come
Yep.
out here and be like, "Who's rookie of the year now?" I'd be like, "Well, I've changed my answer for the eighth time in the past 8 weeks." And it is what it is. These rookies, there's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of ups and downs for a lot of players, including Bobby Miller. Right, he comes up in 2023 and he takes the baseball world by storm. This guy's throwing 100 miles an hour. The fastball is absolutely electric. He's a tank engine of a man, and we're ready. We're thinking to ourselves, all right, Dodger pitcher, look at the sample size. Everything looks great for him to take an enormous step up in 2024. And it's a disaster. It's an 8.52 ERA. And a lot of us are scratching our head thinking to ourselves, all right, maybe there's a weird blip in the road. Remember, he is still just 25 years old back then. Now he's 26 years old, and he gets his first start this season. And it goes terribly. Three
Yep.
innings, 8 hits, 6 earned, but 7 punchies. Right? The stuff is still playing up, but
Yeah.
you could say, well, it was the Rockies at the end of the day, which I understand they do strike out a lot, but at the same time, striking out 7 is still impressive. But the fastball, I just do not really understand it. It's 98 miles an hour, but it's just getting hit. I'd ask you to explain it, but can anybody explain what's going on with Bobby Miller right now?
I think it's the fastball being straight as an arrow, unfortunately, which you can get away with if you're spotting your secondaries, but it seems to be the same story again that we were talking about. Yes, he did land the curveball in that last outing a little bit more, but I think for the most part, hitters are going to dare him to locate the breaking balls in the secondaries and just sit velo.
Yeah.
And it's apparently relatively easy to see out of the hand, and it's getting hit hard. So it is really tough though, because yeah, you mentioned the strikeouts, and it's like, okay, well, he's getting swing and miss, and it's just why can he not miss the barrels like consistently, or at least induce more weak contact? I think a big part of that is he has no command really of that sinker or two seamer that he likes to throw as well. So I think he might be just a candidate to go back to the drawing board and like just kind of reinvent this pitch mix a little bit and see what they can find and what they can adjust to here. Because what's abundantly clear is he's a elite athlete. He's a spectacular talent on the mound. And it's just how do we get this arsenal to just play more effectively at the highest level and more consistently? And I'm rooting for him because he's really fun to watch when he's right. But it's been a little bit longer now since he's been right.
And there was a reason the Dodgers gave him this start. With AAA Oklahoma City this season, pitched to a 2.25 ERA with 11 strikeouts in 12 innings, right? The strikeouts weren't quite there, but the run prevention was. So it's not like they're just seeing him get crushed in the minor leagues and saying, well, we just got to see what he has. He earned this start. He was pitching
Yep.
well. And then,
Yep.
he just gets blown up, but he's a guy who I can't quit.
No,
Like the
no.
arm is too powerful. The stuff is too good for me to think, especially still at 26 years old. We're going to be talking about the 10 best rookies to start the season. A lot of them are in their mid 20s. We're the first one we're going to mention, Cam Mizner. He's 27 years old, right?
Yep.
So how can I quit a guy knowing Jacob DeGrom got his start at 26, knowing Aaron Judge got his start at 26? Like, how can I do it? So I'm not quitting Bobby Miller. I don't think any Dodger fan should quit Bobby Miller. I think he'll go back to the drawing board, like you said, and we should see him later on in the season. And I'm rooting for him because not only did we meet him and I thought he was a great guy, but also, like, even if I never met him, just watching the stuff,
It's
how
fun to
good it
watch.
was in 2023. Can't quit him, Arm. Can't do it.
No, I'm with you, and I'm interested to see with the Dodgers though. Like right now, he's a good depth option, but there's going to be a point in time where if it's not getting any better, like they got to decide if he's a change of scenery candidate or what it might be. But they've got time to figure that out. What sucks is that he goes back to AAA in the PCL, where I mean it's a launch pad, and so it's going to be a guy with a home run issue, then going to the PCL to try to mitigate a home run issue is probably not the best thing in the world for your confidence. But if he can kind of work past that and just focus on the stuff in a vacuum, I'm interested to see what kind of adjustments they make. But there are just too many non-competitive pitches at this point too, so it'll be interesting to monitor.
And before we get into the 10 best performing rookies to start the season, I want to shout out the Discord. I know we've talked about it a lot, but I am having such a blast in that thing. Going
Yeah.
on in the morning, right? Drop the picks. Everybody's excited in the betting group chat. And then I'm like, oh, I wonder what's going on in the rest of the group chat. Arm's doing a full Q&A in the prospect group chat. Then I'm like, all right, the MLB draft is approaching. I want to see what the college guys from On the Clock are saying. They're sending in mock drafts. They're talking about who potentially could be the number one overall pick. Then I'm like, all right, what's going on with the trading card chat? You guys are sending in multiple trading cards all the time. Also, how about the coolest story ever? JustBaseball.com featured on a Jacob Wilson
That was
card.
crazy. That was one of the craziest things I've seen. So it's a Panini. I, and by the way, if any of you happen to see another card that has anything just baseball like on it, please let us know because like it makes me like emotional being
Yeah.
someone who's collected cards their whole life. But it was the back of a Jacob Wilson card from Panini Prism, and it had. I'll just read it because it was like honestly jarring in the best way possible. It's the selective swatches card, so it has like a jersey piece, and it's Jacob Wilson's card from Panini Prism, and on the back it says, "When JustBaseball.com released its updated top 100 prospect list in August 2024, Wilson jumped a head-spinning 52 spots from 84 to 32. That's what happens when you slash 455, 473, 705, and 22." Double A games and then so on and so forth with the triple A numbers because he has been absolutely outrageously good. But yeah, like that is absolutely surreal. And a really, really cool moment there for sure. And I appreciate the heads up that we got from somebody to show us when they saw that.
We're talking about that in the Discord. I go into the fantasy part of the Discord, the big baseball group chat. People are talking about what probable pitchers they want to pick up for that 30-team dynasty league, but they're also talking
Yeah,
about
that one's
other
nuts.
players in other leagues. It has just been such a blast. And then, of course, in the MLB chat, we're talking nonstop, going through every single game, right? Reds versus Mariners. On Thursday, we were talking about that wild game going piece for piece. So it's been such a blast. We're almost at 600 members, and we only launched it about a month ago. If you're interested in joining the best baseball group chat in the world, make sure to use the link in the episode description. It's just $10 a month. You can sign up for 6-month or year packages as well that are all discounted. Wanted to make it as affordable as possible. I went out and got a sandwich the other day. It's $17. So it's about half a sandwich these days per month in order to join the best baseball group chat in the world. Ask questions. We're going to do more Discord Q&As. It has just been so much fun, and I would love all the listeners from the Just Baseball show to join.
It's great getting episode feedback too from folks, in the Just
Absolutely.
Baseball chat. Like there's a Just Baseball show chat, just people talking about like something that we may have said in the episode or something that they want to see in the next episode and things like that, which is great. And then I'm going to be doing a box break in there again soon. So that'll be fun. That was a blast last time out as well. And of course, those are discounted spots in the break because you're part of the community.
All right, so before we get into the 10 best rookie performers so far, our first break. All right, 10 best rookie performers so far, and I want to start at the top. Kameron Mizner of the Tampa Bay Rays. Former Marlins guy, so you know him well, and he has just been pillaging baseballs to start the season. As of now, he's got a 395 batting average, 429 OBP, 744 slug. I was watching him against Tanner Houck, and he was just pulverizing baseballs. And when I had the under, so I didn't really appreciate it. But the swing, I think the swing development is the biggest thing because we were even texting offline how that swing has changed. And he's just this classic lefty where he just pulverizes righties. He's also got some speed. He can play a decent
It's
corner
crazy
outfield
athlete.
position. And really, that's like all that when I'm watching him, all I see is sweet, sweet swing that's getting to both fastballs and breaking balls. He's hitting everything. He's using all fields, but he's pulling a lot of balls in the air. It just looks like such a goddamn good swing. That's my biggest takeaway from Cam Meisner.
And it's come a long way too because he's a guy that he had, and I'm excited to talk about this with him because he's had three different hitting coaches when he was in college at Missouri, and then he went to the Marlins organization at a time where, I mean, if I were a hitter, I don't think there's a place I would want to go less to try to reach my potential than the Marlins around the time that he was drafted and up until honestly recent years. And then gets traded to the Rays, who, the Rays do a lot of things well and are pretty good developmentally, but with the swing mechanic side of things, like they're kind of hands off in that regard. And I think Meisner is a guy that very much just skated on, his natural athleticism, and he's 6'4", 225 and can play center field like that. He is a freak athlete, but his swing, like the mechanics, there was a lot of moving parts. His hands would get really far out in front of him. It was a big leg kick, and it was a lot to try to sync up and time up. And now he's just upright, really simple operation where his hands are not getting way out and moving like crazy over the plate. He's starting with them close to his slot. He still has a little bit of that leg kick, but with the hands not moving much, he can sync it up really well. He looks like he's ready early. And I mean, he's been on time for everything. And this is a guy that was striking out 35% of the time in the minor leagues. And now he's striking out 16% of the time. I understand it's a small sample, but anybody that strikes out 36% of the time in the minors and gets up to the bigs, they're going to strike out a lot. Like, so the fact that he has cut it this much and you have a tangible swing adjustment, I'm 100% buying like what he's doing. Is he going to hit 400? No. But I do think this is a guy that's now turned himself into a quality big leaguer and a solid everyday player who can now play all three outfield spots and steal bags too. Like he's a
Yeah.
pretty dynamic athlete. So I think that the Rays have a good piece here, and he clearly worked on something in the offseason, got with the right people, and got that swing exactly where it needs to be.
He's another great example of don't let prospect fatigue make you so down on some guys when they first come up and they don't perform like you might think. 27 years old. And now we're fully buying in. I think it's easy. Like he's one of the guys where it's like the numbers are great, but he's an eye test guy. I mean, again, I keep going back to how good the swing looks and how good every AB looks from him and how fast he is. And again, to your point about him being a dynamic athlete, you see it and it's like I don't even need to see the stats. All I need to see is what's been on the field, and what's been on the field is fantastic. You ready to move on to our next guy?
Yeah, last thing I'll mention is just being ready for velo is the biggest shift you can make as a hitter. And this is a guy that was getting picked apart by velo before. And so far this season, four seamers, he's got a 96% contact rate against four seamers because he's right where he needs to be. And he's just letting his natural strength and bat speed eat. You're going to succeed that way, even with some challenges against breaking balls, which he hasn't even really had so far. So I'm excited about him.
Next guy up, Thomas Saggese of the St. Louis Cardinals, the second baseman to start the season. He's hitting 455 with a 435 on base percentage with a 636 slug to give him an OPS near 1100. And when I watch Thomas Saggese, excuse me, the first word that comes to my mind is a battler, like a competitor, right? Every at bat feels tough from this guy, and it's hard to get him to strike out to start the season. He's only striking out 17% of the time, but he's aggressive too, right? He doesn't even have a walk yet. But his ability to hit breaking balls, I think, has been very, very impressive. And when a guy, is occasionally not wearing batting gloves, like I'm going to latch on to a guy like that. So this is a guy who, again, haven't seen a ton from. He's still only 23, not a ton of time in the minor leagues and not a ton of time in the major leagues either, right? He came up last year, only 52 plate appearances, a 556 OPS. But what I'm watching right here is a battler and a competitor. Even Oli Marmol was saying that on, it was like a post-game presser of how impressed he's been with how much Saggese battles up there at the plate.
He's definitely somebody that's just going to outperform, I think, a lot of the metrics that you look at across the board. And he's been that. He was one of the pieces acquired in that Jordan Montgomery trade, and a high school guy that is kind of a pop-up prospect that I know the Rangers overslot were excited to get, and the Cardinals specifically targeted. But the second they acquired him, he went crazy and was absolutely mashing. And then he got to AAA, and that aggressive approach got exposed a little bit more. Then he started to settle back in. He got to the big leagues, and then that aggressive approach got exposed a little bit more. And if there's something that does him in, it's going to be that aggressive approach. But it seems like he's finding ways to mitigate that to a degree and succeed. And a big part of that is being able to make contact on pitches outside of the zone. Because if you're going to swing at pitches outside of the zone, at least can you spoil them? Can you shoot them the other way for base hits? And he's starting to do that. What I love about him is like he's going to hit the ball in the air pretty consistently. He's still working to do it a little bit more at the big league level, but that's something that he's always done. So he's always going to outslug the exit velocities. He added more strength going into this year, so he's hitting the ball harder. He's worked really hard to be able to plug in at shortstop, so if you ever need, he can fill in there as well, but now playing a much better second base and even looks like he can play a solid third base. So you have this really versatile infielder. It's not the same type of game as a Brendan Donovan, but it gives you a similar type of value here. And he was a top 100 prospect for us at the end of last year and then just got bumped out by some of the new guys going into this year. but he's 23 years old for the entirety of the season. He just turned 23 a few weeks ago. And this is somebody that I just think could be kind of that 50s across the board in the 2080 scouting grade conversation there that ends up just doing all the little things to be, a really solid regular in the big leagues. And again, the Cardinals have a lot of fun young talent.
They do. And the Cardinals are a good, fun, young team. Hopefully they get younger soon. I think that's what we'd like from them.
Yeah.
But the guys that we are seeing right now, we're impressed. And another guy that it's hard not to be impressed with right now is Kristian Campbell of the Boston Red Sox. Again, another 22-year-old. He's off to a hot start, albeit he did slow down a tad, but he slowed down to a 900 OPS for the season. He's hitting 302, 392 on base percentage, 508 slug. Right when we're talking about a dynamic athlete, Kristian Campbell pops off your TV. He's so quick. And I'm not even just talking about straight line, like running to first base. I'm talking about his wrists. I'm talking about his feet. I'm
Insane.
talking about like the decision making. Like everything is so fast and explosive from him. And you said it yourself when we were just talking about him on the top 100 prospects list. You talked about how good he is against mistakes. That there are certain pitches that can get in on him, and he's probably going to struggle against them. But if you're just a few inches off that spot, he is going to punish you. So even when pitchers have been pitching him a little bit different lately, he's still got a 799 OPS, and he's adjusting, of course, as a 22-year-old, but it's those hands, it's those wrists. Like it almost reminds me a little bit of Bo Bichette in that way, where the hand speed and the wrist, they're just so fast that it can get to any baseball.
It's a great comp because Bo Bichette's contact point is one of the deepest in Major League Baseball. You wouldn't really teach anybody to hit like Bo Bichette, but Bo Bichette just hits. And I think that's what, like, with Kristian Campbell, me being a little bit lower on him, like, and if he continues to succeed this way, it's a really cool recalibration of the way that we look at hitters. It's like, okay, if you're an 80 athlete, and he is so freaking twitchy
Yeah.
that he really is like an 80 athlete from that perspective. Like, can you get away with mechanics that most other hitters won't get away with, and like to what degree? And I think if you had most hitters swing the bat the way Kristian Campbell does, they wouldn't even succeed in the minor leagues. So like it's a testament to how freaking explosive and twitchy he is, and then also improving that approach so that he can lean into his strengths and hedge those weaknesses. And like we've seen pitchers already adjust to him a little bit because now you're game planning for this guy. Like this guy's been cooking teams right now. Like he's been a big part of the offense for them. So we've seen them adjust, and the last 10 games he's been a little bit more swing and miss happy, a little bit more chase happy. So I'm excited to see how he adjusts back from that, because this is clearly a guy that just, I think where I probably came up short in the evaluation is just how freakish he is of an athlete, and how much maybe a guy that's that athletic can get away with things. And then the other side of it is just, I think we're seeing that athleticism translate defensively even more. Is he going to grade as a great defender at a specific spot yet? Probably not. But they're moving this guy between second, left, center field for a guy that's just getting his feet wet in the big leagues. Like they're asking a lot of him, and he's like unflappable. It just seems like he's not phased at all by what's going on and what's being asked.
Absolutely. And I like the point that you made about switching positions too, because it's one thing to get your feet wet in Major League Baseball. And then it's another thing to get your feet wet at the plate. And then you're getting your feet wet in new positions, right? This guy is moving around all the time, and it's just his first couple of games because the Red Sox need this bat in the lineup every single day. We've
Yep.
talked about Jordan Walker, right? Going from third base to an outfield position and how that's so tough on a young player who's trying to get their feet wet at the plate. And we saw then what happened to him. And now Kristian Campbell is doing the same thing, except it's three different positions. And yes, he's on a slow track right now offensively. But again, you said it yourself, he'll likely make the adjustment. And he's such a freak athlete, so he can go out there and it looks so easy for him. Almost like a Jackson Merrill, where he goes from shortstop to center field, and it just looks so easy for him out there. So again, that's just a testament to the talent that Campbell has.
Oh yeah.
So let's move on to Jacob Wilson of the No City Designation A's. Unfortunately, A's fans, we are not talking about Tyler Soderstrom. I wish he was a rookie, but technically he's not qualified. But today, Thursday, April 17th, he hit his MLB leading ninth home run. And it was at a good time because Cal Raleigh caught up with him with his eighth home run of the year against the Reds. But Tyler Soderstrom, he didn't have the lead for about 12 minutes, and then he hit his ninth home run. So he is leading the league in home runs. But Jacob Wilson, man, has been impressive. He's hitting 333 with a 485 slugging percentage to give him an 818 OPS. Jacob Wilson, watching him is so fascinating because it's like, you don't want a rookie swinging at everything.
Yeah.
You don't want that. You don't want a rookie who hasn't walked yet. You don't want a rookie who is in the ninth percentile of chase rate. And yet it doesn't seem to matter
No.
because he hits and makes contact with everything.
Yep.
Like it's such a I don't even really know how to explain it when I'm watching. I'm just like, oh, this should go wrong soon, but it might not ever go wrong soon. That must have been why he was such a tough guy to evaluate as a prospect, because you're looking at chase rates and all this stuff. And it's like, how can he keep going once he gets up to the big leagues? How is he going to do it? Right? I get he's hitting 400 in the minor leagues. I get he hit 400 at Grand Canyon University. But how is this going to translate? It's translating. He's just going to hit everything forever.
Yep. Yep. I mean, it just seems to be the case. It's the Luis Arias conversation where like you look at what he can do and how he's going to chase just about everything. But if you also get to everything, not only get to it, like somehow find the gaps and poke it in the holes and whatever, like Luis Arias has always had that high chase rate, and it's just something that hasn't been a problem for him. And it's almost more difficult if you're a pitcher, because it's like, okay, even when I get him to chase, he's gonna spoil it or maybe even get a knock. So then eventually you don't want to waste 48 pitches. You're gonna go back in the zone, and that's where they're gonna make you pay. And I think with Wilson, maybe a little bit more, you're seeing that like he might have a little bit more juice there to work with as he continues to progress too, to make you pay, especially in that environment. But I mean, the bat to ball is just so ridiculous, and I think that's the biggest thing is like, okay, he's going to swing a ton. He's going to get to everything. And then you look at the defensive side of things too, and that's the big separator where like, yeah, he may be slightly less of a bat to ball wizard as Luis Arias, but he is infinitely better of an athlete and defender. And like seeing how good he is at shortstop, where I think there was a point in time where it's like, oh, maybe it'll be average. It looks like he can be above average, especially as he continues to develop. And remember who his dad was. Jack Wilson was a human highlight reel. This is a guy that, like, is he the next pre-arb guy for them? Like, do they want to see it over a larger sample? Maybe just because the underlying is so wacky. But at the same time, it gets to a point here where you're just looking at what he's doing and just saying, like, he just might just be a pure hitter that's just going to make it work. And he hits the ball just hard enough. I feel like he's got to be. I mean, the A's have a lot here. They have Wilson as a pre-arb extension candidate. You have Soderstrom as a pre-arb extension candidate. I mean, it is really fascinating. If Kurtz comes up and rakes, he's going to be a candidate for that as well. They're in an interesting spot, and it's a great one at that, minus the fact that they're playing in no city designation.
No city designation. All right, let's move on to our next guy. Your boy, Griffin freaking Conine. Again, I just want to talk about that 96 mile an hour double against AJ Puck, tough lefty. And before that game, he came into the season with an OPS over 1,000 against lefties. But overall this season, he's hitting 298, 375, 456 for an OPS at 831. Dude, the floor is yours. Griffin Conine deserves to be on this list.
Yeah, it's wild, man. And he popped the other day against his college teammate, popped the highest exit velocity of the season by anybody, a 117.4.
117.
54% hard hit rate. Like, it's crazy stuff. And I mean, I know he worked his ass off this offseason, and there was a lot of focus on just being ready for velocity and building off of that. But you're seeing the walk rate climb. He's cut the strikeout rate down even more to where he's striking out 23% of the time. I mean, the biggest thing with Griff, I think, is when you look at the chase rate, and it's something that, like, of course, he's still not going to be, I don't think he's going to be hitting 300 all year, but I also think he's going to be slugging more. Like, I don't think you're going to see one home run over, a near 20 game span. It's been a lot more doubles than homers. Some of these doubles are gone in a lot of other ballparks. But what is clear to me is the shift in plate discipline and the comfort there, where he was chasing near 30% of the time when he got up last year, which is understandable, trying to be ready for velocity, and that can kind of put you in swing mode at times. But now he's chasing at a 19% clip. Like, that's in the top 10% in Major League Baseball. And if you're able to do that while making leaps bat to ball wise, while having some of the best EVs in Major League Baseball. Like, how do you not buy this? And then defensively, he's fantastic out there. He's pissed about the outs above average being bad because he lost a ball in the wind in Atlanta. And that's a small sample, man. If you miss 100% catch probability, you're going to get tanked in OAA. But I mean, I'm very confident by the end of the year, it's going to be above average in that regard. You see the DRS, even from his big league stint last year. Like, he's doing a little bit of everything right now, man. And it's been really cool to see.
You see the cannon
Oh,
in
God,
right
yeah.
too. It's not even about, outs above average for him. It's the fact that when you hit a base hit to him and you're trying to round third and head for home, be careful. Be careful because that missile's coming straight to that catcher. Whether it be Rob Brantley, maybe he can tag someone this time. Shout out Rob Brantley. I saw him get a base hit today.
3 knocks today.
Yeah, 3 knocks
He's got to be
today.
the only guy in human history to be 3 for 3 and then get pinch hit for a guy who's the same handedness as him. It was a left on left, and they still pinch hit for him with a lefty in Liam Hicks. I think the Marlins, Clayton McCullough was like, there's no way he's got another knock in him. There's no way. But
That's
shout
so
out Rob
tough too
Brantley.
because you want to like ride the hot hand, but the manager is going no way.
No, there's just no way.
Shout
And
out
to
Rob
speak,
Brantley though.
yeah, I'm happy for him. And to speak to the arm, dude, like I threw with him this offseason just to help him build his arm up. And by the end of the offseason, dude, I was like four bouncing them to him. Like it was insane. He was going full football field beyond the end zone, putting it like through the uprights. And I'm like behind it, just catching. I'm like, all right, dude, I'm gonna roll this back to you. It was amazing to see and just dialed in on that side of things too. Like I think you'll see the DRS really ramp up, but it's been fun to see him and Stowers succeed, and that Marlins outfield. Now they get Jesus Sanchez back. It's going to be a fun left-handed hitting trio out there, I would say.
Do you think that you might be the first podcaster to get hip surgery and Tommy John? Is that possible? Like you're just
I
falling
mean,
apart out
if
here.
I have to long toss with him next year again too, I might need TJ. It was getting real long for these throws there, but I already got the labrum surgery, so I would definitely be the first to get shoulder labrum, hip labrum, and elbow surgery in podcast history for sure.
You'd be the first. All right, let's move on to our next rookie standout. That is Jasson Dominguez of the New York Yankees. Slashing 259, 355, 407 for a 762 OPS. But as we know, he is a switch hitter, and against righties from the left side of the plate, slashing 400, 438, 600 for an OPS over 1,000. Now, there are a couple of things that I've noticed about Jasson Dominguez through the early parts of this season. Number one, the left-handed swing looks great. He's hitting fastballs, he's hitting breaking balls against righties. This is one of the best hitters in the Yankees lineup, and he looks great. Number two positive thing that I have seen, there was a lot of worrying about him defensively in left field. I was one of them, right? I've seen all those drop balls just like you all have, Yankee fans. We all saw it. And going into the season, I relied on his athletic ability to get in the lab over the offseason and be a better defender in left. And I was hoping as long as you can be average, you will be impactful through all parts of the game. And he's been better than league average. Well, technically 49th percentile on outs above average, 74th percentile on arm value, and maybe I'm being a little bit biased because he did just make a great play against the Royals in that last series. Against the Royals in that last series as well, big bases clearing double from the right side of the plate against Angel Zerpa, and I was listening to the post game presser when he was talking about Dominguez, and a big smile comes up over his face when they ask him about the right-handed troubles. And he knows it's been bad, but he's working on it, and I think that part of his game is going to improve. And if this guy can just be average against left-handed pitching from the right side, this is going to be a well above average hitter who's playing good defense in a corner. And again, another reminder, like we're talking about Griff, we're talking about Cam Mizner, they're 27. Jasson Dominguez is 22. Like, I am giving this guy plenty of time to continue to adjust. This is a really, really talented player.
You'd think Dominguez was 30 by the way people respond to seeing him on prospect rankings and stuff like that. And when we had him, ranked still pretty high, people were either saying, "Oh, he's still a prospect," or way too high, Yankees effect, blah blah blah. No, like this guy hits the crap out of the ball. He's a great athlete who I still think that will translate into better defense in the outfield as he gets more comfortable in a corner, but it converts into value on the base paths for sure. And you mentioned it, like the left-handed swing looks really, really good, and that's the most important side of things. And
Yeah.
it's been kind of this like recalibration for him at each stop where he gets promoted to another level. He hits the ground running pretty well with the left side. The right side lags behind, and then it catches up a little bit. Then he gets promoted to the next level, rinse and repeat. It's going to be the most extreme example of that at the highest level. And as you alluded to, if he's a 700 OPS guy from the right side, he's fine
Yeah.
because I feel pretty confident he can be a mid 800s or from the left side and give you a lot of value with his legs and things like that as well. He's 22 for the entirety of this season and has plenty of time to continue to develop. But I think when you look at what he has done so far this year, what stands out the most to me is, especially from the left side, is the bat to ball skills. And that's something that's just continuously been slept on for him. I know that he's striking out. And part of that is, I think, the aggressive approach, which is also something that was not an issue for him before. I think he's just getting comfortable at the big league level. But 92% in zone contact from the left side is what you love to see. And with how hard he hits the ball, that's going to translate to success. As the right-handed swing comes along a little bit more and the approach gets to where we know it can be, the glove's going to keep getting better. He's a really solid player. And look, is he going to be the Martian superstar,
Yes.
whatever that he
Yes.
unfairly was branded as?
Yes.
Yes, maybe
Yes.
not. He
Yes.
might not be Ellie De La Cruz, but like I
Better.
said, if he's Anthony Santander with like better speed and potentially a better glove as he progresses, it's a really good player. And I think we're seeing out of the gate here that this guy's gonna be a good big leaguer. And whatever it looks like is whatever it's gonna look like. We don't know exactly yet because he's a great athlete who's physical as hell. But I think you can say at this point he's gonna be a solid big leaguer.
100%. And to your point, he is swinging and missing, right? He's got a 29% strikeout rate that's in the 16th percentile of Major League Baseball. He's also chasing a good amount. But again, a lot of what I see in terms of swinging and missing is from the right side,
It's from
right?
the right side.
His 24 ABs and 10 strikeouts from the right side versus 8 strikeouts and 30 ABs from the left side. So again, the left side looks awesome. It's just the right side is a work in progress. I think that was a big hit that's going to kind of boost his confidence because you need a hit like that. Bases clearing double from the right side against a good lefty reliever. And also the defense I've been impressed with. And he's also got some speed. Like he's a really, really sound baseball player, or at least he will be. I think just as he continues to develop, like you said. All right, let's move on to the next guy on our list, Alan Roden of the Toronto Blue Jays. This guy, when you look under the hood at some batted ball quality metrics, right? He's got a 332 WOBA to a 256 xWOBA. Basically, what that means is they're saying he's getting very lucky through his first 57 plate appearances, where he's slashing 265, 351, 388 for a 739 OPS. But there's a part of me that says that's a really early sample, and I kind of want to throw that out the window because this guy popped a 114 in the minor leagues. He's already popped a 107 this year. But in terms of these batted ball events, there just hasn't been that much of them. A lot of it has been soft contact, leading to those batted ball metrics being a lot more down on him. But what I see is a guy who, kind of similarly to Thomas Saggese, is he's not striking out at all. 14% strikeout rate. He's got a 7% walk rate. You get him to 2 strikes. He's hitting breaking balls. I think it's so funny. It's like the Blue Jays have so many versions of Spencer Horwitz. No wonder they traded him, right? You got Will
Yeah.
Wagner, you got Horwitz. Dalton Varsho kind of looks like them, even though he doesn't really play like that, but he looks like them. They have a lot of these just squatty lefty guys who can hit the ball hard. And also another part about Alan Roden's game that I didn't really know much of, he's grading out great defensively, which
Yeah.
is another added benefit for this Toronto Blue Jays player. So I guess my question to you is no way he's hitting the ball this soft for the rest of the year, right?
No, no. And I also think like he's a hit over power guy, but it's been impressive to see the impact that he has added. But this is a guy that ran an in zone contact rate of 92% last year in the upper minors. And I mean, really, really good at crushing righties as well. So he's probably a guy that you'll shelter from lefties a little bit more. But when you look at the numbers even last year, against righties, 300, 414, 481 slash lines at 8 and 895 OPS, and he walked more than he struck out. And that's the other thing, too. He's historically been patient. The thing with him is that sometimes breaking balls have got him a little bit more aggressive, but he's been fine against breaking balls so far this year. So I think the big thing to monitor with him is just can he get the ball in the air a little bit more consistently again? And I think there's just a level of him just trying to get to the ball, survive, put together good ABs. But there was a little bit of the ground ball side of things for him in the minor leagues, especially on fastballs. So I think just trying to get more comfortable elevating that will in turn really help the I think underlying numbers and the power numbers. But he had 16 home runs last year, and I do think that there's enough pop there to get to 10 to 15. And when you have a good approach, you're a good defender and good bat to ball skills, this is another guy that I think there'll be some ups and downs, especially depending on how much they play him left on left. But this is another guy that's very clearly to me a big league piece for the Blue Jays.
Absolutely. All right, so we got three pitchers left, two starters, one reliever, and then we'll end with the weekend preview. And of course, I have a last word. But before that, our last break. Okay, the best pitching performances among rookies so far. We had to add a reliever, and who else but Dodgers lefty Jack Dreyer. 12 innings, 16 punchouts, a 0.75 ERA, and he's got a 20-incher arm. 20-incher in terms of induced vertical break on the fastball.
That
For anybody who heard that and thought something else, that's your fault. I'm talking about 20-inch fastballs. Even though it's only 92 miles an hour, it's getting up on guys. And then that slider is just diabolical, right at 87 miles an hour. It's been fantastic, too. So this is a guy who's got a 20-incher arm.
yeah, it's getting up on guys. I mean, it's an Alex Vesia starter kit, which is what's awesome. He is getting. I'll try to put it in better terms.
I got you. I knew I got you.
He's getting good. He gets great carry on that fastball, and it's deceptive. But how about the command? Like
Yeah.
this is a 71% strike rate on the fastball, a 74% strike rate on that slider, and like he's just so confident because of that vert that he creates. Like you're gonna swing under this. I already know it, so I'm just gonna put it in the zone, and he is, and he's succeeding with it. Opponents are hitting 079 against him. He's striking out 36% of batters, but because of the vert that fastball gets, like he's gonna get righties out. It's got this gyro action on the slider, so like it's going to get righties out as well. Like with that pitch, he can pretty much go full innings or even I think be stretched out a little bit more than that. We've seen that where they've already had him go 2 innings twice. One time it was 2 1/3, and then he's gone an inning and 2/3 twice. And the last time against the Rockies was an inning and 2/3, no hits, no runs, one walk, 4 Ks. And he's doing that at 92 miles an hour, 93 miles an hour. Like it is really impressive. We were talking about him before the season just because the metrics were so crazy, and this was just going to be another guy that the Dodgers spawn. And with Vesia potentially being a free agent, I think you look at Jack Dreyer and you say like, we've got Vesia at home to a degree. Like they might end up just letting him walk in free agency because they've got so much money allocated everywhere else.
And I'm glad you mentioned that we were talking about him before the season because you're so right. Because we both kind of noticed, all right, this guy's going to start in the Dodgers bullpen and he's a rookie, which means he's going to be fucking awesome. You know why? The Dodgers have one of the best bullpens in baseball. They bring in Tanner Scott. They have plenty of arms, but they decided they need to save a spot for this lefty. And you look at the fastball and you're like 92, 93. He's got a nice slider and the metrics look good, but what do the Dodgers see? And then you see it on full display. Nobody can touch this four-seam heater at the top, and then he tunnels off with that slider, and it's good night. I mean, he has just been dominating hitters from the jump. Like I said, 0.75 ERA, incredibly impressive for the Dodgers' young left-handed reliever. Let's move over to Shane Smith, Chicago White Sox right-hander. The 25-year-old is off to a great start. 2.04 ERA. He started 3 games. He's gone 17 and 2/3 with a 0.91 whip. When I watch Shane Smith, I think to myself, man, if you had an electric fastball, you could be an ace. That's how good I think the breaking balls are. The changeup just falls off the table. The slider is really good. The curveball has performed really well this season. When we're looking at the changeup, opponents are only hitting 125 against it. The slider, opponents only hitting 0.71 against it. And he's throwing the curveball 20 times. zero hits against it. Now, opponents are only hitting 192 against his fastball to start the season. So you might say to yourself, well, it is a good fastball, or at least it's performing early. The batted ball quality against it is not that good. And when I'm watching him, it just looks kind of straight. But he's a guy who it's like, all right, I think I have three breaking balls that have the potential to be plus. I think the changeup is already there. I think the slider is really great too. And if that fastball, maybe it's more of a sinker. I don't know how he's going to develop it. Maybe he just lowers the usage on that pitch a lot. That's just what I have been noticing. What have you been noticing about Shane Smith?
Yeah, it's interesting with the fastball because I think he mitigates some of that concern with his ability to spot it, which
Yeah.
that does help, right? Like where when you have secondaries that guys are thinking about in the back of their head, and then you're dotting the fastball, you can kind of start that fastball or put that fastball where they think the secondaries are going to start, and you're going to freeze them at the knees a lot with that too. And I think we've seen that. But then on top of that, it's got a little bit of that cut ride to it, so I think that helps it maybe outperform the stuff plus models or things that of that nature. But I love that you mentioned the changeup. Like I think that's another reason why the fastball performs well is
Yeah.
it's not a big velocity separation. It's a 90-mile-an-hour changeup and it's a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. But the vertical and just total separation is crazy. So the fastball only gets 13 inches of vert, but it only gets 3 inches of horizontal, which again is that kind of cut ride where it's just going to look almost like a cutter, but it really ends up kind of staying straight with a little bit of cut.
I think Justin
And
Steele. I think he's the perfect example
he,
of a guy who
that
has
can do it with
utilized
success.
the cut ride fastball where, it's just got that little break at the end. It's not quite a cutter, it is a fastball, but it just keeps that off the middle part of the barrel.
And then you have running to the arm side a changeup that gets 1 inch of vertical movement, which means it's really going to be diving downwards, and 13 inches of horizontal.
Mm.
So we always talk about separation, and like velocity separation is very intuitive, right? It's just how hard is your fastball? How hard is your changeup? What's the gap? The bigger the gap, the more it can throw off hitters. But shape separation is huge too. And he's getting 25 inches of separation between vertical and horizontal, but the velocities are close. So it must look like the fastball, and at the very last moment, it's not. And that gets in your head a little bit. And then he dots the fastball. Like he's going to freeze a lot of guys with that. So I think that part of it is really interesting. And he was the number one Rule 5 draft pick, and he looks like a steal somehow. So that part of it is really cool. I think this is a really solid innings eater type of back end of the rotation guy, and he's built for it too. He's 6'4", 225 pounds. With all the high upside arms that the White Sox have on the way, being able to add just a high floor innings eater type here, and Shane Smith, who also gets plenty of ground balls, 52% ground ball rate so far, this was a great get for the White Sox and another good building block.
Another good building block, this time for the Milwaukee Brewers. Last but certainly not least, Chad Patrick, the 26-year-old, is off to a good start. He's made three starts so far, 1.76 ERA, 15 and a third, and he's got a 1.37 whip because the walk rate has been a little out of whack to start, but he's not allowing hard contact. And, when I watch Chad Patrick, and maybe I keep using this comparison, but I think about it every time when a righty is sitting around 94, 95 with his four seam fastball and he's got a cutter and a sinker, I immediately think Lance Lynn. That's just immediately what my brain goes to. And he's also, I'm watching Chad Patrick, he does this weird two-step thing when he's in his windup. It looks so strange. I can't even really explain it. I hope Peyton, our video guy, could show you a couple of these weird two-step things that he does in the windup. I don't know. I enjoy it, but again, it's a similar thing to Lance Lynn where it's like, all right, you're sitting four seam fastball, might be a little of a cutter, so it's just off the end of the bat. Or you're sitting four seam fastball with a sinker in just off the bad part of the bat. He's keeping the ball off the barrel. Now, there's not enough here for me to say, all right, like I think I'm in. Like with Shane Smith, I think I see three legit off-speed breaking ball type pitches, and I think he's a fastball tweak away. But to your point, I totally agree with you. The way that it works off his other pitches, he can have a successful fastball, even if the metrics aren't pointing to that. But with Chad Patrick, I'm not really sold yet, but I have been entertained by what I've seen so far. And another reason why I wanted to bring it up, I trust the Brewers. I trust them so much when it comes to pitchers. So if they're willing to ride this guy, who am I going to say no? But this is what I've noticed. It's kind of Lance Lynn-esque.
Yeah, I am worried he may not get enough whiff at the highest level to
Yeah.
to sustainably stick as like a five, but I mean, this is definitely a solid depth arm swingman type. That cutter is good, and he
Yeah.
commands the crap out of it, and it gets just that late bite to it where he can tie up lefties, backdoor righties. That part of it's really impressive to me, and he can eat innings. Like he threw a lot of innings last year, and threw really well at the AAA level. Like he has been a guy that when he's on, he's spotting that cutter. Like he had some dominant outings. He had two 12K outings last year in AAA. So he's capable of eating innings, filling in, and surviving. And when you have, an offense that when it gets hot can do a lot of good things and a defense that's always going to be elite, this is a guy that I do think maybe for this team and the way it fits with them could hang on to a number five spot. Probably going to need to miss bats a little bit more, maybe finding a little bit more consistency with the changeup would be something that's helpful. And that's something that he had last year and hasn't been utilizing as much this year. So you mentioned the walk rate, like the command has uncharacteristically been a little bit shaky. I think some of that's maybe just learning to trust his stuff at the big league level because the stuff has actually been great for him so far. It's really been mitigating the walks where it's three walks, and two walks. But he's so far missed enough bats, and it'll be interesting to see if he can maintain that. But I definitely think this is a guy that can be like a six starter for you and eat innings. And the Brewers need those guys. And I mean, he's going to be a guy that's going to get plenty of opportunity for them this season.
Absolutely. So just a recap on all the rookies that we talked about. Cam Meisner of the Rays, Thomas Saggese of the St. Louis Cardinals, Kristian Campbell of the Boston Red Sox, Jacob Wilson of the A's, Griffin Conine of the Marlins, Jasson Dominguez of the Yankees, Alan Roden of the Blue Jays, Jack Dreyer of the Dodgers, Shane Smith of the White Sox, and Chad Patrick of the Milwaukee Brewers. All that's left right now is our weekend preview, and it is brought to you by the official ticketing partner of Just Baseball, and that is Game Time. We've talked about how much we love Game Time because of those last minute deals and how you're always getting the cheapest seat. But it's funny, I was actually using Game Time today because I want to go to the Mets versus Cardinals series this weekend, and you can get into Citi Field right now to see the first place Mets take on a really exciting and fun Cardinals team for as low as 26 bucks. But the seats I'm looking at right behind the visitors' dugout. It's in row 5 for $112. Incredible value for tickets at Citi Field right now. And another big reason I like Game Time is their all-in pricing. Toggling feature shows the total up front, and unlike other tickets, right, or other ticketing platforms, no surprise fees at checkout. I can see the seat views, right? You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, and the lowest price guarantee. They guarantee it so much that Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find cheaper seats elsewhere. Not just 100%, 110%. That speaks to how confident they are you're getting the lowest price. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code JUSTBASEBALL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code JUSTBASEBALL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We're going to go over some of the best games of the weekend. And again, shout out Game Time. I was looking at what ticket prices were for this Marlins versus Phillies game in Citizens Bank Park. It's Sandy Alcantara versus Zach Wheeler. I can sit in row 122, close to behind home plate for just $85. So remember to use code JustBaseball on Game Time for $20 off. Aram, Marlins versus Phillies in Citizens Bank. Who you got? Sandy versus Wheeler.
Well, I do want to also shout out another rookie performer, Matt Mervis. Four
Absolutely.
homers in his last 5 games as we're recording this. If you don't count the pinch hit that he had, or the pinch hit appearance he had on the Thursday game against the D-backs, and then Richard Fitz is hurt. Otherwise, fortunately, it sounds like he dodged a bullet. It's just kind of a minor shoulder pec thing. He should be back sooner rather than later. But Fitz was a guy that was off to a fantastic start for the Red Sox as well. I mean, the Marlins are going through a tough stretch here where, like, we talked about it, like, oh, they're good. They got swept by the D-backs. They out hit them on Thursday, but just couldn't push the runs across. I don't know. I could see them either starting a really rough skid here, or maybe you see the bats continue to shine through, and and he turns into good one. Sandy has historically thrown well against the Phillies, but I'm gonna go Phillies in this one. I think Zach Wheeler overwhelms these Marlins bats. They've been good, but I don't know how much you can simulate Zach Wheeler's extension on the traject machine or the machines that they have set up pre-game.
Give me the fish. Griffin Conine, 3-run home run to take the lead. That's when the home runs start clicking for him. Give me the fish. Give me the fish. All right. Again, on Friday, Dodgers versus Rangers at Globe Life Field. We got Yoshinobu Yamamoto taking on Jacob deGrom.
I think the Rangers. Excuse me. I think the Dodgers right now. I'm a
Yeah.
little worried about just Degrom hasn't been as sharp. I don't know if I'm fully worried about him. Yoshi's been nasty,
Nasty.
nasty. So I think Yoshi stays hot, and I think they just wear out Degrom a little bit. And then if it's battle of the bullpens, or you have advantage, starter length in one, you're going to be in a good spot. So I think Dodgers win that one.
I'm excited to see what deGrom looks like because, in his first start, he's touching 98, he's sitting 97. It looks pretty much what Jacob deGrom is, right? 5 shutout. And then his next 2 starts, it's like 95, 96. The command isn't right there. But I wonder if this extra juice of adrenaline against the Dodgers at home, we see more of a vintage Jacob deGrom start. Now, with that said, give me the Dodgers ML because I already know what Yamamoto is going to do. They have the better bullpen, they have the better offense. Give me the Dodgers to win that one. All right, let's go to Saturday. Mariners versus Blue Jays at the Rogers Center. Luis Castillo taking on Jose Barrios. Who you got?
It's Castillo versus Jose. I mean, the Mariners just had a nice little rally, and I think a
Yeah.
galvanizing win against a brutal Reds bullpen.
Brutal Reds defense. I mean,
That too.
people in the Discord are starting to call him Error de la Cruz, and I'm like, that's mean, but it's kind of funny. And
It's
when you
getting
make
it's getting frustrating. Yeah, I
yeah,
always talked about like how many balls can you steal out of the gap or out of the hole that nobody would normally make the play for to offset the errors, but he's making the error number too high to try to offset right now. So it's been frustrating. I think the Mariners carry that momentum and keep rolling.
I'm gonna go with the Blue Jays. I still think the Blue Jays are a little bit sneaky. I like Barrios at home. It's a lot of travel for the Mariners, right? You're going from Cincinnati up to Toronto, without an off day in between, another extra innings game here on Thursday. So I think they get caught sleeping a little bit. I'm gonna take the Jays in that one.
And
But
the Jays
I like what you're saying about them building that momentum into it. That's probably why I won't bet on the Blue Jays, but I think they take the win.
the Jays did call up my king Addison Barger, who I
Oh
think
yeah.
is finally going to get some run here. I'm another guy, 25 years old, not giving up on Barger. He hits missiles, so I think hopefully he can get hot and give them a little bit of a jolt too.
2 of the best teams in baseball square off at Wrigley Field this weekend. On Saturday, we got Zach Gallen taking on Ben Brown. D-backs versus Cubs. Who you got?
Give me the D-backs right now. I mean, they are raking. And I know it was in Miami, whatever, but the Corbin Carroll Grand Slam, seeing that was crazy. I mean, off the face of the upper deck, but then Pavin Smith is dialed in. You've got Josh Naylor looking like one of the best power bats in baseball right now, too. And Ben Brown's good, but this is another situation here where you have the starting pitching advantage, and then bullpens wise, these bullpens aren't close.
Yeah.
Ben Brown did just turn in a gem against the Dodgers, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like been this like Jekyll and Hyde thing with Brown. I think he's going to be a good arm, but can he duplicate it against another really good lineup? Maybe. But even then, it's huge advantage bullpen towards the D-backs. So I'll go Zach Gallen and the D-backs.
And you were talking about the D-backs offense, and I completely agree with you. And I want to side with the D-backs too in this game, but the Cubs just rake. I mean, it almost doesn't matter who's the opposing pitcher against them. They just destroy anybody who comes in. I'm still always a little bit worried with Gallen on the road. Just historically, his road numbers have not been nearly as good as what he is at Chase Field.
Unless
But I
he's
still
facing the Yankees.
unless he's facing the Yankees and makes us look like a junior varsity team and he throws that knuckle curve every single pitch. And for whatever fucking reason, we can't fucking adjust, but that's for another time. That's for another time. All right, let's go to White Sox versus Red Sox. I wouldn't say this is the best game of the weekend, but it does include Shane Smith. It does include Shane Smith, who we were talking about, and a rematch of Garrett Crochet against his former team. Crochet nearly threw a no-hitter and struck out 11 against them last time. So instead of picking a winner, because I think the Red Sox are going to be like minus 270, give me Garrett Crochet's pitching line in this game.
Oh, in this one,
In this one,
I think he's
after
livid that he
nearly
didn't
no
throw.
hit, do you think it's even better this time?
I think he's livid that he didn't throw the no hitter. So I think it's 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 13 Ks.
13 Ks. I love it. I'm gonna say no, because when I was watching that start, I was gonna say maybe the pitch count might get up there a little bit if he's trying something new, but I mean, why try something new? He's throwing the fastball down the middle. They had no chance. I mean, it's
No
just
chance.
by you. By
No
you.
chance.
So yeah, I think he's gonna be above 10 Ks. I think he's probably gonna be 6, 7 innings. You know, I'm gonna say he does it. Fuck it. Give me the no hitter. He throws a no hitter. Fuck it. I
The
mean,
no
what
hitter
are we
call.
talking about? Like, what? Fuck it. No hitter. There was a no hitter on Saturday. Let's move over to Sunday. Yankees versus Rays at George Steinbrenner Field. Max Fried taking on Ryan Pepiot. Fried's coming off a great start. Pepiot not so much against those Boston Red Sox. He probably hates Alex Bregman, who was just
Oh my God.
destroying Pepiot. Who you got in this one?
I mean, I got to go Yankees with the way Fried's throwing right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's clearly comfortable throwing in Yankee Stadium dimension. So
Yeah.
I don't think that'll phase him too much. Pepiot's been dealing with a long ball issue a little bit over the last few games. I think it's what, six homers in his last 3 starts. So yeah, give me the Yankees in that one.
And I'm not sure if I'm going to go to the Friday game or the Sunday game at City Field using game time because on Sunday we got Sonny Gray taking on Clay Holmes at City Field. You're starting to see Clay Holmes put it together, but here's the thing: Sonny Gray has put it together for the last decade.
Yeah.
Tough game.
Unless he was in New York.
We don't have to talk about his time in New York. Who do you got winning?
Ooh. I mean, Sonny Gray is shoved the last 2 times out
He's the
after a
man.
slow start. I think Clay's due for his like I'm here motherfucker start. I think that's where we get it. I think he just kind of picks them apart here. I think he's due. Give me the Mets.
The Cardinals have done such a good job at not striking out, right? We talk about Thomas Saggese and all these guys in the lineup just keep battling. And whenever I see that against Clay Holmes, I see a lot of dinks and dunks, and it's one of those Clay Holmes reliever slash starter starts where you're like, all right, there's walks here, there's hits, there's a lot of nonsense that goes into it, kind of similar to his first 2 starts. I think he has one of them, and then his next start he bounces back. So give me the St. Louis Cardinals, and we'll end with Sunday night baseball at Minute Maid Park. Padres versus Astros. Dylan Cease against Framber Valdez. Who you got?
That is a banger. That is a banger game.
Yeah,
Oh my
banger.
goodness. Non-bearded Dylan Cease, like just clean facial hair Dylan Cease. I'm starting to buy into a little bit more. But Framber, man,
I know.
what do you have? What do you have?
I don't know. I was hoping you would go. That
Seven
was
earned
such a
last
tough.
time for Framber. I think we see like a surprising laser show that we're not expecting here. A
Interesting.
lot of runs scored. Turns into a little bit of a battle of the bullpens, and the Padres prevail.
I'm gonna go with the Padres with you. Like Cease is due for a great start because
That would
Cease
be
has been
great.
getting hit up a little bit, but I don't think it's due to a lack of quality of this stuff, right? His velocity isn't
Never
really
is.
down. The breaking balls are still fine. This just happens to Dylan Cease.
Yep.
Right? He goes through ups and downs for whatever reason. And he's gonna get there. And this Astros offense just does not scare me. So I think that's a great spot for Dylan Cease to turn in a nice start. Um, so I share your thinking here about the laser show, but I think it's going to come more from San Diego. So we're both taking the Padres. So
Nice.
that'll do it for the Friday episode of the Just Baseball Show. The best way to support, of course, join our Discord. It's just $10 a month to join the best baseball group chat in the world. But also, you see the hats on YouTube. Well, while you're down there, like, comment, subscribe. But you see the hats, go get your own on our Just Baseball merch store. You can find that in the episode description as well. But if you don't want to spend a dime, you're not really interested in maybe even using code Just Baseball on Game Time to get $20 off your first seats. You want to spend the weekend indoors. You don't want to spend any money. I totally understand. If you could rate, review Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the best way to support the show again, while also subscribing on YouTube, liking, and commenting down below. Oh, I forgot my last word. I almost forgot my last word. I was saying bye to everybody. I got to give everybody the last word. Hopefully, everybody didn't click off the episode so far. It's a short one. It's a
It's
short
quite
one.
literally the last word.
It's literally the last word. You know, TVs really haven't gone up in price ever. Yeah,
Well,
sit with
what
that.
about when they were flat screens?
Sit with that for a second. TV prices have not really gone up much ever. So yes, the 100-inch plasma is much more expensive than the TV when it was invented in the 1950s. But if you look up what was the average price of a television in 1950, you're going to find anywhere from about $150 to $300. Look up the price of a 45-inch, 50-inch TV right now. It's going to be about $300. I thought that was a weird quirk, and that's my last word.
That is actually bizarre.
You're
They're
looking it
so
up right
cheap
now. Isn't it
now.
weird?
I would say if anything, they've been going down, right? Yeah. Deflation of in TV prices from 1950 to 2025, television prices have experienced an annual deflation rate of 6.54%. That's nuts.
Isn't that the only thing I think is deflationary since the 1950s? Like that's got to
Yeah,
be one of
one of the
one.
only things. Wait, a TV that cost $1,000 in 1950 would cost approximately $6.28 in 2025 for an equivalent purchase. Of course, if you're
Yes.
accounting for inflation as well or deflation, on top of the fact that that is nuts.
Isn't
That
it
is
weird?
actually really crazy. I would never expect that.
That was my last word. You got anything before we say goodbye?
I have a good last word that I want to save for the next one. It has to do with my experience at George M. Steinbrenner Field, the home of the Rays, and just the entire stadium situation. I did like a full dive on all of it once I was there, and like I have a lot of funny things to unpack from that. So I want to give that like almost like a seg. It might even not even be a last word. It might be a segment on the next show, but I definitely want to save that.
That might be perfect for the weekend roundup because the Yankees
Yes.
do go to George Steinbrenner Field. So we will see you on Monday for the weekend roundup. And with that, thank you, everybody.